Welcome to the first course of Making Your App Ideas Real. This is the Objective-C Fundamentals very first lesson. In this course, you'll learn the basics of Objective-C so that you can make your app ideas a reality. Objective-C is the programming language for Apple products. The overarching goal of this entire course specifically is so that you can understand the developer.apple.com website. It's the developer documents that you're going to be using to reference the Apple objects. It's a very difficult to understand website, so if you don't know anything about Objective-C, it's going to be a bunch of gibberish, which is why you should be taking this course in the first place, is so that you can learn the basics to then understand the developer documents. For example, this is the first topic that we will be discussing, classes and objects, and this is how Apple describes classes and objects. As in most other object-oriented languages, classes in Objective-C support encapsulating data and defining the actions that operate on that data. An object is a runtime instance of a class and contains its own in-memory copy of the instance variables declared by the class and the pointers to the methods of the class. You create an object in a two-step procedure called allocation and initialization. That's probably what you're thinking because you don't know anything about Objective-C. That's what I was thinking when I didn't know anything about Objective-C. It's not very helpful for you to teach yourself with the Apple documents. So I'm going to break it down for you so that you can get a clear understanding. The key words in all of that is an object is an instance of a class. Anytime you create a new file in a application project in Xcode, this is what some of what you'll see is a template called Objective-C class. 90% of the time for basics, that's all you're going to be using is an Objective-C class. The class is what you use to make an object, more specifically an instance of an object. So what exactly is a class? Well, there are two parts. There's an implementation file and there's a header file. That template generates these two files for you, so you don't have to do more work than is necessary. And let me describe the header file first. The header file declares everything that is going to be implemented, such as variables, constants, and functions. Very basic. And then the implementation file uses the data and the logic within what is declared in the header to create your application. It implements what the variables and constants and functions are. So with those two files, you can create a single instance object, you can create another instance object, you can create multiple instance objects with just the class file itself. Now let's talk about objects really quick. It's a very basic thing to understand. There are objects provided for you by Apple, and I'd like to note that this is what you see in Xcode. Not all objects are visual like what you see. Most of them, which we'll talk about later, are more mental and inside of the computer that you need to think about when you're programming. The other type of object is your custom object. This is something that you create because Apple cannot completely expect everything that the developers will need. Summarizing everything we just talked about, you should now be comfortable with classes and objects and get a grasp of what those two things are. Classes have two files, a header file which declares what is needed, and then the implementation file which does something with that which is declared. And then objects are either made by Apple or by yourself, and objects are controlled by classes. In one sentence, create classes which use objects to do what you want. Now in the next example, we're going to create some very basic programs just so that you can get a grasp on classes and objects. Do not be afraid. There are still more lessons. Just follow along and take it with confidence that you understand classes and objects.